Hello everyone, my name is Rolando Arguijo, and today I will be reacting to Laura Bohannon's Shakespeare in the Bush. So, a quick summary is Bohannon is an anthropologist, and she tells the story of Hamlet to the Tiv people in Nigeria. And she expects Shakespeare to be universal, which doesn't seem to be the case. The elders of the Tiv kind of interpret the play differently. They interpret the story differently. Some examples would be like the ghost would be equal to dreams. Gertrude marrying Claudius was something that was normal, and Hamlet's madness was seen as witchcraft and not something of grief. So basically the summary is the lesson can be seen differently depending on the different people and their culture. Now talking about more about the Tiv, they weren't necessarily wrong. Obviously they just made sense of the story. They interpreted the story based on how their culture, based how they grew up, based how they live. An example is definitely the marriage expectations. Something that they definitely are different from us and how we believe. Their spiritual beliefs also shape their interpretation of the story, and it shows how the worldview as a whole is definitely different, and definitely every country, every person definitely filters and sees a story differently. One ethnocentric bias that Bohannon showed is that her beliefs, her cultural reading of the story was the correct one. Like, her way was correct. Her bias was, just believing that Shakespeare's themes and his lessons were universal, is seen as the same worldwide. And the realization that she came to was that her way, the way she saw the story, is not the only way. There is many ways to understand the story, and her way is not the only valid way. Now, talking more about the normal values, let me give an example. In the West, obviously, the Gertrude's quick remarriage is kind of looked frowned upon. It's seen as a bit immoral, but obviously for the Tiv, that's something that's that was no problem. Even expected at that. So it really does challenges the idea whether you automatically think, or that I automatically think, that something can be normal or best. I think a unique norm for my culture, or rather me growing up, something that I hold dear is having being strong and independent. Moving out, doing what you want to do, creating your own path, and maybe getting away from family. Definitely can be seen as strange from other countries and outsiders. Meaning sometimes they'll value extended family living, maybe staying close, but being an individual person in my own path is definitely something that is really strong and a norm for my culture. Some good practice for cross-cultural communication is just recognizing that our perspective isn't the only one, and sometimes it could cause misunderstandings for being wrong or for being right. talking to people from other countries, you could tell that, you know, we share different perspectives just growing up from culture differences. An example from the article I could say is probably the ghost, how the Tiv elders saw it as a dream, and behind like acknowledging that their view and explained how the story of how ghosts work in Western storytelling. My personal experience is definitely talking to some people, some of my friends in Asia, particularly. You know, they speak differently, even in English. They speak differently. Luckily, like, they're really polite, but with that comes with, you know, some things come off as more offensive. Like, some things that I would normally say to my friend here could be seen as offensive over there. I think that you could relate this to Bohannon and the Tiv by saying, like, this, you know, like, same story, the same message, it's just filtered differently and just seen sometimes differently, and could cause, you know, misunderstandings. All right, to conclude this, I think I'll say that meaning is universal, but not one meaning. You know, definitely, like, the worldview around people could shape how they interpret the meaning, how they can, you know, the message as a whole can completely be different from one person to another based on just cultural differences. I'll say that communication, definitely intercultural communication, is definitely something that you have to be more open about. You have to be open, curious, and, you know, just be very, very open arms. You know, try to understand. And then my last note here is that, like, our way is not always the right way. While we may believe that way, it doesn't have to be right way. We shouldn't force it upon other people just because they see it differently. One way doesn't have to be always the right way.